Welcome to a deadline stream for Matchday 5 of Euro 2020 Fantasy Football. We're in the quarterfinals and so many upsets obviously happened in the round of 16 and a lot of us are in a predicament, but I do think the situation isn't as bad as maybe it looks on paper, because ultimately having people on your bench who you can bring on is obviously a great plus of games like this in UCL Fantasy, but ultimately just getting a starting 11 is crucial. But of course, if you're in a position where you have more than 8 players eliminated and then more kind of injury doubts or players who might not play, like Bruyne for example, then it gets a bit complicated. But if you only have to take a -4 or -8 to get a full starting 11, I mean, maybe I'm being optimistic in a stupid way, but I actually don't think it's too bad. But some good news finally coming yesterday. Maybe that's why I'm a bit more positive. Kevin De Bruyne, it's likely that he's going to start tonight against Italy. This is according to Sky Italia, so hopefully it is true. And you know what? Well, I mean, my door just opened. Anyway, yeah, with Kevin De Bruyne, I think that he's going to be a big plus for Belgium. What the downside of this, even if you do have him, is that it could cause Italy to go out. So in my case, for example, I've got 4 Italy players, but I'm not so sure. I think with De Bruyne there, it really boosts Belgium's chances. I think they're a completely different team with him and without him. So I'll be going through all your questions and all your comments. So thank you everyone who is here. And yeah, I'll be talking about the transfers I made. I made 4 transfers. So for a -4 hit, I am willing maybe to take an additional hit. And I'll be explaining why. But in general, I don't like taking hits, especially in a game as short as this. The upside isn't there in a way compared to FPL. But thank you everyone who is here. 23 people here, really appreciate it. And let's go through all your questions. So Shadow Gaming says, I'm in a lot of trouble. I have no chips and I have 8 eliminated players: Ronaldo, Kimpembe, Benzema, Kulusevski, Depay, Stecklenburg, Dumfries, Veindel, and 2 doubts, KDB and Kiar. Thinking of a -8, what should I do? The other players I have are Damsgaard, Berardi, Donnarumma, Spinazzola, Mela. So Berardi, I think he's not going to play, but I wouldn't be getting rid of him. Same with Kevin De Bruyne, and as I just said now, apparently he is going to start tonight, which is good news, potentially. In terms of what you should do, I think a -4 or -8 is probably best in your situation, but if you can avoid it, then, you know, taking no hits is ideal, but maybe a -4, -8 is good. I wouldn't go overboard. I wouldn't do -12s, -16s, -20s there. I just don't think you're going to make up those points, even if all these players you bring in have future games in the semi-finals and the final. Welcome Keith, thank you for joining in. Kenny says, I'm in the same boat, have 9 eliminated players. Only players I have are Yarmolenko, Spinazzola, Mela, Berardi, Donnarumma and Højbjerg. Oh damn, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, and some of those players like Yarmolenko you would expect to get knocked out, and Berardi might not start. So yeah, obviously that sort of situation, it's not ideal, and it's a bit worse than, you know, what I was talking about, but it's still possible. I think taking a -8 potentially in your case, or a -4. I don't know your whole team, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But in my case, for example, I had Dumfries, Kimpembe, Stecklenburg eliminated. Also Forsberg. Who else? I think, trying to remember now, because obviously I did get rid of them yesterday night. I got rid of Depay, Benzema, Wijnaldum. Those were the other sorts of players I got rid of. All eliminated. So I had 7 eliminated players. Kevin De Bruyne was a doubt until yesterday night, apparently. And Berardi's probably not going to start. So if you look at my team, for example, I've got 11 players out on the pitch, but Berardi's probably going to be making a appearance from the bench. So I also have Damsgaard. So 12 players for a -4, but potentially, you know, only 11 starters. It's not too bad. It's not ideal, but at the end of the day, this is what happens, of course. It's always going to be risky to play our chips in the group stages. I noticed that, or I noted that in my videos, and I always said, if possible, I want to save my wildcard for the quarterfinals, but unfortunately, I just didn't like the rotation that was going to happen in my case in Matchday 3. Otherwise, I'd still be having the wildcard and I'd probably be laughing. But yeah, I think it's something to note for future UCL Fantasy games, Euro games, and also the World Cup game if they do have the limitless chips. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you do well from your situation. ZickJH says, hi, does anyone know the rules for how chips work? I currently have 8 players out of the tournament. However, I have 2 chips. I'm thinking I will use limitless. Should I use my free transfers before? Well, it doesn't matter if you use your free transfers before, they won't count if you, for example, use the limitless. So just to kind of break it down, and you can also watch my first draft video where I break down all the rules in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the video. But in terms of the limitless chip, it's like a free hit from FPL if you played it. So you can basically make as many transfers as you want. Obviously, no hits are going to be there, and it only lasts for 1 week, and there's no budget restriction, so you can have anyone you want pretty much, and you're not really you have no constraints other than, you have to have 3 strikers, you have to have 5 midfielders, 5 defenders, and 2 goalkeepers. But other than that, you can get whoever you want, and budget isn't a problem. In terms of the wild card, that is permanent changes, and obviously the transfers you're making, they last longer than 1 week. They last for the rest of the tournament pretty much, and you do have budget restrictions with that. So in terms of what you should do, I would personally use the limitless now and use the wild card in the semi-finals. The reason why I say that is because if you were to use the wild card now and limitless in the semi-finals, your team would then revert back to how your quarterfinal team was going into the final, and you don't want that. You're going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So if you have a limitless and a wild card, which is a great position to be in, by the way, I'd be using the limitless now, and then I'd be using the wild card in the semi-finals or the final. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it. Shadow Gamer says, sorry for my question, I meant Wijnaldum instead of Wijndal. Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I was going to say Wijndal didn't even play, so he's not a big miss. But yeah, Wijnaldum, and he was awful, by the way, in Matchday 4. I have 8 guys eliminated and only 3 transfers. Yeah, it is... it's obviously not ideal, but just thinking of it this way. You've got 8 players eliminated, but you have a 15-player squad. So you have 7 players, and with 3 transfers, you get 10. And with 1 additional hit, with 1 hit, you get 11 players. And it's not too bad. That's just, I'm maybe trying to be too positive, or, hopefully I don't come across as condescending. But really, I truly believe that, if you have 7 players, and you make 4 transfers and you take only a -4 hit, it's not the end of the world, because a lot of people are going to be panicking and they're going to be taking hits left, right and centre, and this is where you can really take advantage, as I said in my last video. Yeah, exactly, Andrew. I completely agree with what you said in regards to what Zik JH said. Yeah, I completely agree. Larry Bird says, afternoon, man. Thoughts on Kane, Morata, Damsgaard, probably -4 hit with Sterling. Well, funnily enough, Larry, that's the exact 4 transfers I made. So they're probably going to be very popular transfers this week. So yeah, I got Morata in for Depay. I got Kane in for Benzema. And who else? Sterling in for Wijnaldum and Damsgaard in for Forsberg for a -4 hit. I've got 0.3 million remaining, and I'm literally 0.1 million off from doing Dumfries to Shaw, which I wouldn't mind because there is attacking upside with Shaw. The only thing I would kind of talk about in terms of Shaw is maybe Chilwell will play in this game against Ukraine. There's a quick turnover of matches, and Luke Shaw might be rested for a potential semi-final, but I'm not completely sure about that. Dylan Ines says, will Berardi start? Unfortunately, mate, I don't think he will. And I've got him. I think Chiesa will start instead, and that's what the kind of reports are coming out of the Italian camp, that there's only going to be 1 change, and it'll be Chiesa coming in for Berardi on the right-hand side. Is KDB going to play tonight? I believe so, Larry Bird, according to Sky Italia. But once again, it's not concrete news. It's not completely official. But, that kind of puts my mind at ease, because if he's also out, then I probably would be taking an additional hit no matter what. I'd probably be getting rid of Dumfries for someone like Maguire, or maybe even Thomas Meunier, but that would be a bit risky, I think. Is Poulsen going to play? Well, this is the thing. Apparently, he sustained a hamstring injury, Ritesh, hopefully I said your name right, and yeah, obviously a hamstring injury tends to be quite a couple of weeks, but there's also some people saying that they've seen that he might start this week, and I wouldn't be completely surprised. Even though Dolberg had a great performance against Wales, if Poulsen is fit, I can see him starting. So to be honest, that's why I kind of avoided Dolberg, and I was thinking about him in my team selection video. So there's always going to be that kind of question mark. From Denmark, I'd probably be going for Damsgaard, Mæhle, and maybe someone else, but it's always going to be a risk whether you're going for Dolberg or Poulsen. And Braithwaite hasn't been too impressive in my opinion, and he scored very late on in their win against Wales. Is Ferran Torres a good choice? Because I don't think De Bruyne will play, says Keith. Well, obviously, like I said with De Bruyne, it's not completely official, but apparently he will start. As for Ferran Torres, I think he's a great option this week. The only kind of caveat with him is that he might not start, but even from the bench, he can get 10 points as he did in Matchday 4, and he's a great player. He's one of Spain's most talented players. I really like him, and I think he can do very well for City too in the Premier League and also Champions League, but I think he's a good option no matter what. I wouldn't be getting rid of De Bruyne though, personally. I'd be just getting rid of eliminated players, especially the more expensive ones like Wijnaldum, Depay, Benzema, all these sorts of players, Mbappe, but I wouldn't be getting rid of De Bruyne, who might start, and if he does, he could really hurt your rank. Will De Bruyne play? Well, like I said, it's what Sky Italia have been reporting. They said it yesterday night, and I think the journalist who said it is quite reliable, but we'll wait and see. And to be honest, it makes sense because this is a big game for Belgium. Why would you make your transfers on your Spanish players before the lineups are put out? Well, to be honest, Morata should be starting, and even though I do like the look of, for example, Ferran Torres, yeah, I mean, just looking at it, I don't want to be getting rid of any players that I have from Spain, like Sarabia, even if he's benched, because I have other fives to put out. I want to be getting rid of the eliminated players who are definitely not going to play, and even those like Sarabia, Moreno, Morata, Ferran Torres, they can do really well from the bench. But obviously, I get your concern. I'm not recommending to anyone to make transfers now or to have made them already. There's no kind of rush because there's no price rises until after the deadline. But yeah, I mean, I just made the transfers already. FPL guy says, awesome channel, bro. Recently started my own FPL channel after watching your vids for some time. Really appreciate it, mate. I'll have a look actually at your channel after the stream is done. And yeah, really humbled by your words. And hopefully your channel does very well. And yeah, keep me posted about how you're doing. Mickey says, I have my Limitless and Wildcard. Which one to use? Yeah, as I said before, I would be using the Limitless now. The reason why is because if you use your Limitless in the semi-finals, you're going to be going into the final with your quarter-final team, because remember, the Limitless only lasts for one match day. It's like a free hit, so you would want to be using your Wildcard in the semi-final. So yeah, Limitless now, Wildcard in the semi-finals or final. How many hits did you take, says Adam? I only took a -4, so that's why I'm relatively happy. I'm quite calm. And obviously remember, you know, if you do have anyone on your bench, make sure that they're playing tomorrow and not today. Otherwise, you lose their points indefinitely unless someone in your starting lineup doesn't play a single minute. But yeah, I've got Damsgaard on the bench, and then I've got a full 11 of Donnarumma, Spinazzola, Stones, Mailer, Berardi, Sterling, De Bruyne, Sarabia captain. I'm not so sure. I might be changing it depending on the lineup. Morata, Kane, and Immobile. And the 4 transfers I made, I got in Harry Kane, Alvaro Morata, Raheem Sterling, and Damsgaard. I got them in for Forsberg, Wijnaldum, Depay, and Benzema for a -4 hit. Insigne over Berardi. Well, Insigne will be playing, and he's on set pieces, so I do prefer Insigne now over Berardi. I think Berardi is going to lose his spot to Chiesa if the reports are true. But honestly, from Italy attack, Immobile is my favourite, but then again, he is more expensive than Insigne. Insigne can get an extra point for scoring a goal as a midfielder. He's more likely to score goals from outside the box, and he's on set pieces, so his assist potential is there. So I think Insigne is probably the pick of the bunch from the Italian attack. Captain Morata or Immobile? I'd probably go for Morata because I like Belgium's defence, and I think that game could be tighter. With Spain and Switzerland, I could see very, very big scores, potentially. And also, Switzerland can see just a huge number of big chances, and that's what swayed me to get Morata. And Spain are another nation, by the way, who concede a bucket load of chances. Ale says, or Ali, remind me, I mean, hopefully I haven't butchered that. Ronaldo, Depay, Wijnaldum, and Dumfries to Kane, Morata, Sterling, and Stones. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And if I didn't have Stones, I'd probably have made the exact same transfers as you did there. What will you do if you had the wildcard? Well, in my team selection video, I actually provided a best wildcard team. So if I was on a wildcard, I'll just show it for you here. For anyone who hasn't watched my wildcard video or my team selection video, if I was wildcarding, I would be making a team like this. And yeah, just a quick kind of summary on how I'm doing. I'm around 34k in the world, so quite a significant jump in match day 4, despite, you know, the kind of problems going forward with the eliminated players. I'm on 252 points overall. So yeah, I got 68 points last week. So it was a good week overall for me. But obviously, I've got a few things to address going into the quarterfinals. So if I were to, you know, if I did have the wildcard available, I would definitely be using it now. And I would probably be doing something like this. So Morata, I'd arguably put in my starting lineup. I think it'd be between him and Patrick Schick. Harry Kane would definitely be in my team. I know some people are saying his ceiling isn't too high and he only scored 1 goal against Germany, but I think he's now going to get more chances against Ukraine. And obviously, remember, Ukraine went all the way to extra time. They scored a last-minute winner against Sweden. So I do think Harry Kane could be a great captaincy shout. And then it's between Immobile, Lukaku. I'd probably get one of them. And personally, what I would do, I'd probably go for Lukaku, but don't underestimate Patrick Schick. I think he could do very well this week. And also the Switzerland player, Seferovic. I wouldn't be going for Mbolo. That could be famous last words, but I think from Switzerland, you'd want to be going for Zuba, Seferovic, and Shaqiri. I think they're the best ones. From Spain midfield, I'd be going for Sarabia, and potentially I'd be going for Ferran Torres. But yeah, I'd probably go for Damsgaard, Sterling, Sarabia, and depending on if De Bruyne is starting or not, but obviously we won't know that until the deadline passes. But if you're willing to take a risk, you can go for De Bruyne. The defence, I wouldn't change too much, to be fair. What I'd probably do is this, you know, I'd get rid of the goalkeepers and I'd go for more England players. So ultimately, I'm not really, you know, that disappointed in not having the wild card, because the team wouldn't be too different, I guess, at least the starting lineup. But yeah, I think Pickford would be the ideal one. My second goalkeeper, I'd probably just go for Unai Simon if you have enough money. If not, it's fine. You know, it's not an issue. In terms of another English defender, I'd actually probably triple up on their defence, and that might seem a bit excessive, but I would still play the same way as I did beforehand, despite obviously the upsets we experienced. If you're willing to go for a bit more upside and the potential risk of Shaw being benched, if you're willing to just take the risk, then go for it. Go for Luke Shaw, but otherwise you can just go for Harry Maguire. But having said that, there is the possibility of Maguire getting a yellow card and being suspended for the semi-finals if England were to go through. But yeah, I would go for Pickford, Stones and one of Shaw or Maguire in your defence. Mailer would still be in there, Spinazzola, and I'd probably go in for Thomas Meunier, a bit of Belgium cover. That's a really tough game to call, to be honest. And if De Bruyne was fully fit, if Hazard was at his best, then I would be back in Belgium. But it's going to be tighter than we think, and there could really be only one goal in it, if there is a goal at all in that game. But yeah, I'd probably do something like that, and then 4.7 million remaining. So yeah, what we could do actually, instead of having De Bruyne and Lukaku, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have a double up in their attack. Either go for De Bruyne and Patrick Schick, or go for Lukaku and maybe someone else like Ferran Torres. That's what I would probably do. And to be honest, thinking about it now, I'd probably... Yeah, you know what? I'd probably do this. Let's go for Lukaku. I'd probably get rid of De Bruyne. And I'd go for Ferran Torres. I think that's what I'd do. And then we'd have a bit of money remaining. How much would we have? 7.3. This is where you could go for Chiesa, for example, or maybe a Zuba. I think Shaqiri, how much is he? 7.4, 7.3. He's 7.4. You'd be missing him out by 0.1, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest. But yeah, if not, you could just go short to Maguire and then get Shaqiri. I think he's probably the standout from that game, Shaqiri. He's the most explosive, and I could see Switzerland getting 1 or 2 goals in there. Don't underestimate Yarmolenko and Yaremchuk, as I said before, but me personally, I'm backing England to win the game. I wouldn't mind if Ukraine won, though, to be fair. But yeah, you could also go for Insigne instead of maybe Ferran Torres, for example. It's up to you, but I would probably go for a double or triple up in Spain attack. And remember, the lineups for Spain today and also before the semi-finals if they were to go through. So that's a big advantage, and that's why you could arguably go for 3 or 4 Spanish players. I wouldn't go for 5 Spain players. I think maybe that's a bit too much in this moment in time, and Switzerland are definitely capable of a comeback. So just to kind of sort this out, I'd probably I'd just go Shaqiri, and instead of Luke Shaw I'd go for Harry Maguire. And then I'd probably stick it as that. And to be honest, I'd really like that team, and that's something I would wildcard to. But remember, in my wildcard team that I showed the other day, there were the likes of Callas. You can go for him as a differential defender. You can go for Patrick Schick up front. So there's no kind of set formula, but you can go for some of these players, and I think it's probably the best way to go about it. But yeah, let me not confirm these transfers before I take a massive hit. Thank you everyone who is here, over 80 people, really appreciate it. Let me try to get to some of the questions that I missed out. Apologies for that. Thoughts on Seferovic over Morata, says Brandon. Yeah, I do like Seferovic, but I think Morata and Spain will go through. That's why I probably won't be going for him. So yeah, I'm going to be going through some of the questions that maybe aren't on screen, but I didn't answer from before, so bear with me. Sarabia, Morata, Lukaku as captain. I'd probably go for Sarabia, but it's between him and Morata, to be honest, and I will probably change my mind depending on the lineups, which will be out any second now. Captaincy pick, Sarabia or Morata. Right now I'll be going for Sarabia, but I'll give you a definitive answer when we see the lineups. Trippier to start? Good question. I think, to be honest, against Ukraine, I could see maybe Reece James starting and maybe Chilwell or Shaw. I'm not confident about that, but I wouldn't be too surprised if England, make a few changes and they also revert to a 4 at the back formation. So that's kind of my thoughts about it. With England, I would probably be just going for Pickford, Stones and Maguire. Those are the sorts of players I'd be going for. Yeah, exactly, Brandon. I back Spain to go through too, but Switzerland are definitely no mugs. Marco says, hey Dylan, hope you're doing very well. Very happy with the England game. Hopefully we can make the most of this situation. I've clawed back my rank from 550k to 64k, and due to missing the deadline, still have the wild card. Well, you see, blessings happen. Missing the deadline and you have your wild card, that could be a very good thing, and you're in a very good position. 64k with a wild card, you can definitely, you may even get to the top 10k or 5k. Bakul asks, what are your transfers? So I made 4 transfers. I got in Harry Kane, Alvaro Morata, Raheem Sterling and Damsgaard. I got them in for Depay, Benzema, Wijnaldum and Forsberg. Those are my 4 transfers for a -4 hit. Can you do a wildcard team? Sure. My wildcard team is right here. I also made one the other day. There's only like 2 changes from that team, I think. And yeah, really I'd stick to a basis like this or a foundation like this. Torres or Damsgaard, to be honest, if I had the money, I'd probably go for Torres. But having said that, if you already have Morata and Sarabia, you could just cover Denmark attack with Damsgaard. So that's what I'd probably be thinking. Your captain strategy? Oh yeah, that's a good question. Another one. Thank you for that. So my captaincy plan is to either go for Sarabia or Morata today and Kane or Sterling tomorrow. It's as simple as that. And at the moment, I'm leaning towards Sarabia, but I will be changing my mind probably after the lineups are out, and especially if he's not starting. And as for tomorrow, I think I'd be leaning towards Harry Kane. I have a feeling he can get 2 or 3 goals in that game. What's your squad value? To be honest, I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to get rid of everyone and tell you. So let's actually do that. I don't want to get rid of my wildcard team, just for people who do come in quite late to the live stream. Let me go into, let's just get rid of absolutely everyone. I'm absolutely done with Euro Fantasy. And yeah, let's just focus on FPL, right? I mean, that game launched pretty early to speak of that. But let's see. We'll be getting an answer very soon. Apologies that I'm not the Flash or something and I can just get this done in 1 second. Yeah, my overall squad value is 108.5 million. And remember, I think our actual squad value increased from 100 to 105 million after the group stages, going into the knockout stages. So yeah, 108.5 million is my overall transfer budget, and that's actually good to know. And they probably should do that. They should have a section where it tells you your overall transfer budget. Maybe they do, but I'm just not clever enough to find it. Hi mate, should I maximise England players? Now I've got Kane, Sterling, Phillips, Stones and Pickford. Should I change anyone and who? I'm assuming you're on a wild card because you're in a position to change anyone. I wouldn't go for Phillips. Obviously he's a cheap guy. He's a way of just just an enabler really. But yeah, the others are really good. I like them. I'd recommend them for sure. I'd probably recommend, instead of Phillips, if you can, go for another defender like Maguire. But yeah, that looks really good, Dosan. I'd probably go for 4 England players. I think that's the kind of best number to have in this game week. But then again, you never know. Ukraine could cause an upset. Luke Shaw or Maguire? Look, I would say Luke Shaw, and I do believe he's the better option if he starts. But with Harry Maguire, he's more nailed. I don't think he's going to get suspended going into the next game. I think he'll be cautious. And yeah, he's just more nailed. I think with Luke Shaw, he could lose a spot maybe in 1 or 2 games. And if anything, I think this could be the game he gets rotated in. But I can't see him being dropped in a semi-final or potential final. But yeah. Thank you, bro. Love your channel. Glad that you're doing the Euro Fantasy videos. Thank you, Mickey. Good luck with Euro Fantasy. Obviously, it's been, I wouldn't say stressful, but it has been a grind for all of us, especially following the results in the round of 16. But it's been thoroughly enjoyable, and cheers for joining in. Really appreciate it. Magic Mateo says, Torres or Sarabia captain? At the moment, I'm going for Sarabia, but the thing with Morata that I really like is that I think he has the most shots in the box throughout the whole tournament, and he's also got one of the highest expected goals of any player. So with Morata, he's also facing Switzerland, who concede a lot of big chances. It could be a great game for him, so maybe Morata's the way to go. At the moment, I've just gotten Sarabia, but I might change it after seeing the lineup, which should be out any second now if it hasn't already. Let's see. I'm going to try get through some of these quickly because yeah, I'm very far behind. I can see that. Apologies for that. Do you think there's any chance of Sterling being rotated in the game against Ukraine, or do you think he's surely nailed now? I think he's surely nailed. He's been playing every game. Ukraine, you can't take them, you can't underestimate them. You have to take them seriously. And if England, start to rotate and, change things that are working, they could cost them. Kenny says, I think I found a bug. So I open Euro FPL on my work laptop browser. I've never used browser before, and they are asking me to select a new team with my old players and points still in it. Yeah, that's happened to me before. What you have to do is, if you go to the top of your screen, there's a... I don't think... Can you see on my screen? No, you can't because I've cropped it on this. But if you go to the top right of your screen, it will say sign in. So click on that, make sure to sign in and put your details in. And that's why it will be doing that. But yeah, it's not going to be resetting your team completely. Imagine that, getting an additional wildcard for, all our struggles. But yeah, go to the top right of your screen on the silver section where it says Inside UEFA, UEFA.tv, live scores, tickets and hospitality, and store. Right next to it, it says sign in. And then right next to it, it's like a dash bar and it says all sections. So hopefully you find that and you sort that out. But yeah, it should be fine. Shouldn't be an issue there. Any good midfielders for 5.2 million? To be honest, probably, there's no one. Phillips is 5.3 million, I think. He's an alright enabler. Yeah, to be honest, around that price, there's literally no one. Marcos Llorente, nah, not for me. So I'm not so sure. If there is someone, then let me know, but I don't think so. Allowing me unlimited transfers, no hits. Should I risk it? It would literally just be a completely new team. So yeah, don't worry about that, Kenny. Just try log in and see what happens there. What about Lukaku, says Salah? Well, he is in my best wildcard team, actually, because if Belgium do go through, he's someone that I definitely want. And he's still, kind of one of my picks to win the Golden Boot. He has kind of slowed down after his opening brace, but still Lukaku's capable of a lot more. Is a -8 justified for an England defender? Well, that's a very good question you say, Bakul, because I was actually thinking of maybe taking an additional -4, which would result in a -8 by getting rid of Dumfries for Maguire potentially. I think it could be. The reason why I say a -8 could be worth it for an England defender is because if they do keep the clean sheet, you do gain an extra 2 points, from that extra -4 hit you just took. And you have an additional player going into the next round, and that's one less transfer to worry about. So I think it could be worth it, but that's ultimately down to you. Do you think England are going to get a clean sheet? If you're completely convinced, then go for it. If it doesn't work out, you can still make up those points in the semi-finals and potential final, assuming England go through, of course. But of course, it can still backfire. Can you do a wildcard team? Yeah, sure. As I said before, this is my wildcard team. Other options you can go for include Patrick Schick, Kevin De Bruyne, Callas in defence. You could even go for Donnarumma in goal or Courtois, but I personally would go for Unai Simon and Pickford and just cover Belgium with Thomas Meunier, Spinazzola and Italy in that sort of fashion. Is it worth to transfer Berardi for Sarabia on a -4? I wouldn't do that, mate. I would only get rid of eliminated players like Wijnaldum, like Forsberg, these sorts of players. Also Pogba. I wouldn't be taking an additional hit to get rid of De Bruyne or Berardi, even though I don't think Berardi will start. 7 of my players are eliminated. I used Limitless previously. Should I use Wildcard? Yeah, definitely. I'd be using the Wildcard now. I think it's a great opportunity for you to completely, rehaul your team. And on screen, what you can see now is what I would Wildcard to if I had the chance. So you can use this as a template, maybe make a few changes, go for a few differentials like Zuba, maybe Seferovic up front, or Patrick Schick, Callas in defence, and you can really make that Wildcard your own. How many transfers did you make? I made 4 transfers, Alex. Harry Kane, Alvaro Morata, Raheem Sterling and Damsgaard in for Forsberg, Wijnaldum, Depay and Benzema. Would you recommend me to take the -4 for Forsberg to Sarabia transfer? Yeah, I probably would, but just wait for the lineups. I mean, I think the lineups should be out. Thanks a lot. I hope my videos can get to a fraction of your quality, bro. You could definitely do that, or even much better than that. So yeah, appreciate the comment, FPL guy, and good luck with your channel. Spain team out: Simon, Alba, Pau Torres, Laporte, Azpilicueta, Pedri, Busquets, Koke, Sarabia, Morata, Ferran Torres. That's a really strong lineup, and yeah, that's probably the best team that Spain could make right now, arguably. That looks really solid. And yeah, Sarabia, Morata and Ferran Torres, I really like the look of that. With Ferran Torres into the team, I actually do like Morata even more now, and I even like Ferran Torres, obviously. If I had a wild card, I'd be bringing Mr. Torres in also. Should I get Schick, says Ayo? I think he's a good option this week. Personally, I wouldn't go for him, but if you want Czech Republic cover, I think he's the way to go. Greetings, Roger. Thank you for joining in. Is this team good with a -8? Simon, Spinazzola, Christensen, Mela, Sterling, Insigne, Berardi, Damsgaard, Immobile, Kane, Morata, and then Sobs, Pickford, Stones, Maguire, Wijnaldum. Yeah, that looks solid, to be honest. That looks really good, Spiros. There's not really a weakness there, I think. Das says, after taking a -4, I am able to manage 11 players. Should I go for a -8? I don't think you need to, personally, but if one of your players is Berardi, for example, who might not even start, then it makes sense to take an additional hit, but I wouldn't go overboard with it, as I said all along. Shall I pick Jack Grealish? He could be a very good differential, but I personally would be going for Sterling and Kane from the attack if you can. Lineup's already out. Check Twitter. Yeah, thank you. Obviously, I have been a bit delayed. I've been going through old messages, so apologies for that. And yeah, Ayu, I answered your question if you got that. Like I said with Schick, I wouldn't go for him, but I do think he's a good option. Who would you make more of a priority, Morata or Kane? Very good question. It depends on what coverage you have already, but assuming that isn't an issue, I probably would be saying I'd rather get Kane personally. For some Pessina, he looks pretty offensive and really good. Maybe he's one of the better, kind of budget options, but I wouldn't be making him a priority, especially when, they're facing Belgium, they could get eliminated. Some of my friends are reporting the same bug now. Yeah, as I said, Kenny, make sure that you just sign in. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's something that's happening now to a lot of people. Maybe if I refresh my page, for example, it will happen. Hi Dylan, should I bring in Ferran Torres for a full 11 or Sterling and Damsgaard for a hit and 12 players? Already own Sarabia Morata. That's a very good question. In that case, I'd probably go for Sterling and Damsgaard for a hit, but Ferran Torres for a full 11, I mean, that just makes sense also. If you already have enough England cover and have Harry Kane, then you could just go for Ferran Torres and avoid the hit. Immobile or Lukaku? I'd rather have Lukaku, probably. Lineups are out. Belgium versus Italy predictions. Very good question, Ben. I think if Kevin De Bruyne starts and he's in fine form, I would back Belgium to win. I'm not so sure how it would happen. It could go to extra time and penalties, but I could see a 1-0 or something happening, or maybe a 0-0 or 1-1, and then it goes to extra time and penalties, and Belgium win. Is it a good match day for unlimited card? Should I keep it for now? I would use the limitless right now. I wouldn't be saving it for the semi-finals because, as I said before, you'd be going into the final with your quarter-final team if you were to use the limitless in the semi-finals. Obviously, if you use a limitless in the final, it's not an issue, but I don't think there's as much upside to doing that. So I'd personally use the limitless now, especially if you have a wild card too. Is De Bruyne going to start? I think he will, but that's according to Sky Italia. Let's wait and see what happens. Sarabia starting, yes he is, which is very good news. So is Morata, and yeah, he has that updated on my screen. Spain actually look very good, to be honest. Will De Bruyne play, Dylan? As I said before, I think with Sky Italia, they were the ones who reported that De Bruyne will play. I think he will, based on the kind of noise coming out of that camp, but I'm not exactly sure. Sarabia versus Ferran Torres. Tough one, very tough. I think today I'd rather have Ferran Torres, but they're both great options. Shaw and Damsgaard for a hit, or Maguire and Torres. I already have Sarabia and Morata. I'd probably go for Maguire and Torres, Jimmy. I'd probably go for that. Will Maguire play? Yeah, he should play. And I know there's the yellow card kind of swinging about, but I think he should be fine. Captain Morata? I think so. And I really like the fact that Ferran Torres and Sarabia are playing alongside him. But I'm already signed in, Dylan. Still allowing me to change the entire team for no hits. I want to do it, but imagine seeing a -24 tomorrow. Now that's a bit strange, to be honest. If you're already signed in, I mean, maybe use a different browser. Try that. I mean, that's what I would recommend. But if you're on your app and it's fine, then I wouldn't risk it because I don't think it will just automatically give you a wild card or unlimited transfers. Thoughts on Mason Mount? A lot of people expect him to return to the lineup. Do you think he's a good option, especially for his price? Personally, I would, even from around a similar price bracket, I'd go for Grealish, but ultimately from England, I would want to have Pickford, Stones, Maguire, maybe Luke Shaw, Harry Kane and Sterling. I don't think there's enough upside with Mason Mount, and he might not even start the rest of the games. Is Pickford worth a -12 hit? No, not for me. Definitely not. Maguire has a yellow, so do you think he will play? I think he will, mate. I took the extra hit, Dylan. Join me. I might, Brandon. I might. I'm thinking about it, to be honest. I mean, look, if I didn't already have kind of a settled midfield, I'd maybe go for Ferran Torres. And what I could have done, instead of getting Morata or Kane, I could have gotten Dolberg instead of one of them. And Damsgaard, I wouldn't have got him. I can't even speak. I wouldn't have got him, and I would have got Ferran Torres instead. But what I'm thinking of is potentially a -4 from Dumfries to Harry Maguire. Let's wait and see what happens there. But I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, I don't want to overthink it. It won't really. I don't want to give too much thought about it. But yeah. I don't know. I'll wait and see. Thank you everyone who is here, by the way, and I will be going through your questions. The rest of your questions, I'm nearly caught up now. But yeah, really appreciate every single question and comment that's coming in. Keep them coming. And if you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, share this video around with anyone who loves Euro Fantasy Football and also FPL and UCL Fantasy, because I will be making videos across next season for both of those games as well. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can contact me there as well as YouTube, whether it's in the community tab or in the live streams as we're doing now. And also the videos, you can just make your comments and you can talk about your teams and also your thoughts about all things fantasy football, and not even just that, anything to do with football. But really appreciate all the support. And let's get back to my team, back to my transfers, and back to the struggles, and also to your questions. What about Shaqiri? Well, as I alluded to earlier, I would probably include him in a wildcard team if I wanted someone from Switzerland. I think he has the most upside, so I wouldn't be bringing him in for a free transfer personally, because I think Spain will go through. But on a wildcard, when you can afford to make these kind of bolder picks, I think Shaqiri is a good option. Can you make a limitless team? Well, to be honest, this is my wildcard team, and if I had a limitless team, for example, I probably wouldn't change much. What could change is instead of Damsgaard, I'm trying to think of this. Yeah, maybe go for a Lorenzo Insigne, but I probably wouldn't do that. Or maybe Kevin De Bruyne, actually, because I think he will start. And instead of Harry Maguire, you can go for Luke Shaw. But other than that, I wouldn't change too much from this team, personally. That's what I think. Will De Bruyne play? Yeah, I think he will, Guerra. But it's not completely nailed, or it's not completely, concrete news. It's what Sky Italia were reporting. Yeah, the lineups came out. Cheers for that. Dolberg or Schick? I would prefer Schick, because with Dolberg, there's always going to be this kind of question mark about when is Poulsen going to be back. Will Berardi start? I don't think so, Pandit. Sarabia starts? Yes, he is, and it's very good news, isn't it? What about Seferovic? With Switzerland, I think him, Zuba and Shaqiri are the standouts, and I would rate them Shaqiri first, probably Zuba second, and Seferovic third, but they're all very good. Sarabia or Torres? I think Torres this week. Captain Sarabia, Ferran Torres or Morata? I'd be tempted by Torres, to be honest, and if not Morata, but they're all very good and they could all easily do very well this week. Should I take a -4 with Forsberg for Sarabia? Yes, and if you can afford it, maybe go for Ferran Torres instead, but yeah, Sarabia's a good option. Who should I captain, Sarabia, Morata or Ferran Torres? As I said before to Jay, I'd go for Ferran Torres first, Morata second, and Sarabia third, but that's just my personal preference. I think Morata will get the bulk of the chances, but it's just whether he can finish them. How many free transfers do we get next week? We get 5 free transfers going into the semi-finals and 5 free transfers going into the final. Morata captain? Yeah, I think he's a great captaincy shout, Pedro. What about Immobile? Well, I have him, but I'm not too confident in him. And if I was on a wild card, I probably would look elsewhere. Why does everyone think that Denmark are more likely to reach the semi-final than Czech Republic? Well, to be honest, it's just down to personal preference. I have been more impressed by Denmark in this tournament with their win against Wales, and also the way they played against Belgium. They really could have scored 2 or 3 goals in that game. And we're talking about Belgium, who are probably the best team left in the competition. So I do like Denmark. I think we shouldn't underestimate Czech Republic, and that's why in my team selection video, I provided some Czech Republican players such as Patrick Schick and Kallas in defence, and you could always go for them, or even Hollers in midfield. And by the way, hopefully the person who asked this is still here. Yeah, speaking of 5.2 million midfielders are under, I think Hollers is just a standout because even though he's not going to score 11 points every week, he will be he will be just getting you those consistent points for starting. So yeah, hopefully you get that. Captain Insigne or Spinazzola? That's a tough one. I wouldn't be too confident in either of them, but maybe Spinazzola. But I don't see too much of a ceiling for either of them. How many hits did you get? I took a -4 hit. How's your day been? It's been very good. Hopefully yours has been good as well, Emmanuel. And yeah, good luck with Euro Fantasy, UCL Fantasy 2 if you play it next year. What do you think about this wildcard team? Says Stone Hydra. Lukaku, Morata captain, Kane, Shaqiri, Sarabia, Damsgaard, Pessina, Sterling, Spinazzola, Laporte, Meunier, Mela, Shaw, Simon, Pickford. That looks really good. Yeah, there's not really a weakness there. It's pretty much identical to what I would be wildcarding to. Instead of, I think you have Pessina in there. Instead of maybe one of my midfielders. I'm trying to think who. I think it might be Ferran Torres, and you've gone big up front, Lukaku, Kane and Morata, and also at the back, yeah, you've got Laporte in there too. Interesting. I probably would go for an extra England defender over Laporte. That's what I probably would do, and maybe instead of Pessina you could go for Hollers just to have a bit of Czech Republic cover there, but to be honest, that's just nitpicking. That looks really good. Sterling versus Ferran Torres versus Sarabia. Tough one. I'd probably go for Sterling, but I think Ferran Torres is a great option this week. They're all good. Pickford and Stones or Kane and Simon? Already have Alba and Sterling. I probably would go for Pickford and Stones. Morata or Kane? I'd probably go for Kane, but it's really tough. Did you do a hit? Yes, I did, Dylan. I took a -4. I made 4 free transfers, and yeah, I've took a -4 hit. Should I captain Alba or Morata? I'd go for Morata personally. Marco says main omissions on my wildcard are Schick, Dolberg, KDB, outfield Spain defender, Immobile, and Swiss Ukraine players. Anyone that I should try to fit in? Team is same as your draft, but Shaw and Chiesa in for Shaqiri and Stones. Maybe go for Shaqiri instead of Chiesa. That's what I personally would think, because remember, before the game against Austria, Chiesa had never scored in his international career, and it's a very tight game. Obviously, I could be completely wrong about that. Chiesa could do very well, and he's still a good option. I've highlighted him throughout the week, but maybe you could go for Shaqiri just to balance that. And in terms of outfield Spanish defender, it's fine if you have Simon in goal. That's why in this wildcard team, you can see here, I've got Unai Simon in goal, and I've got Thomas Meunier to cover Belgium, Spinazzola to cover Italy, Stones and Maguire to cover England. I've got Pickford in goal too, and Mailer. And there's also Thomas Kallas, for example, from Czech Republic that you could go for. And from Ukraine, it's probably just Yaremchuk or Yarmolenko. But personally, I back an England clean sheet there. I have only 10 players with a -4 hit. Would you go with a defender or a midfielder? Or a defender short or a midfielder short? Tough question. Maybe a midfielder short, because you already have 4 midfielders anyway, if you know what I mean. But with defenders, if you only have 3, it's a bit of a predicament. But to be honest, midfielders have more upside than defenders in general. So I just go for the midfielders and maybe go one short of the defender. Kane or Morata, says Digor. I prefer Kane. Is a goalkeeper worth an extra hit? I don't have any goalkeepers. I probably wouldn't, mate. Unless maybe go for Pickford. If you back him to reach the final, then he probably makes up that hit, but I don't like taking hits for goalkeepers. I've always said that. Sarabia, Torres, Seferovic or Morata? Sarabia, Torres, Zuba, Shaqiri. Very good question. I probably would go for the first set of players. Sarabia, Torres, Seferovic. No, sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, the second set. So Morata, Sarabia. I'd go for that. Is it worth taking a -8 to have a backup player? It depends who this backup player is, but in most cases, I'd say no. Thank you, Arturs, but no, I'm not good, but thank you very much. Torres or Morata for captain? I probably would go for Torres, because a lot of people are going to be going for Morata this week, and I think Torres could be a great differential captain. He might be highly owned, or more highly owned than Morata, but I actually prefer Ferran Torres this week. Yeah, Amir, I took a -4 hit this week. Should I take the risk and take Dolberg instead of Morata? I probably would just go for Morata, personally, but Dolberg is a great differential. He's only 1% owned. He could do very well this week. Would you go for Sterling or Kane if you're only to get 1 for a -4 hit? I mean, I hate saying this, but it depends on what midfielders and strikers you have already. But if that wasn't an issue, maybe I'd go for Kane, because in midfield you can then go for Sarabia, De Bruyne, Ferran Torres, Insigne, these sorts of players. Up front, I think there are fewer options, so I'd probably go for Kane. Kane or Morata, and Kane or Ferran Torres. I'd probably go for Kane and I'd go for Sterling, but if you want a bit of a mix, go for Kane and Ferran Torres. Schick, Lukaku, Morata, Kane, choose 3. I'd go for Kane, Morata, and probably Lukaku. Do you think Saka will start? Very good question. I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think it could be Grealish on the left, Sterling on the right, Kane up front, to be honest. But Southgate does like to rotate, doesn't he? Why have you captained Sarabia? Well, I haven't now. Actually, I did change it. It is Morata. But with Sarabia, he is a bit more explosive. And when was it? In Matchday 3, yeah, he got 14 points against Slovakia. And he got 7 points against Croatia. I think he's got a bit more upside than Morata, but with Morata, the kind of thinking there is that he would get the bulk of the chances tonight. Should I take Dolberg instead of Morata and take the risk? I personally would just go for Morata. If not Morata, who would you captain today? Ferran Torres, if I had him. Definitely, I'd be going for Ferran Torres. Should I keep Pau Torres? Yeah, definitely. I mean, you wouldn't want to be getting rid of players who are starting. If you're on a wild card, it's different. You don't have to have him, but otherwise, yeah, just keep Pau Torres. He's starting tonight. It'll be fine. Let me actually check, because I haven't been able to do this yet. So obviously we know the Spain lineups, but we don't know, or at least I don't know, the Switzerland lineup. So let's go over that. We've still got 46 minutes left for the deadline, so really appreciate everyone who is here. And yeah, we'll be going through your questions throughout the stream. So Switzerland against Spain. Let's see this. Michael Oliver is the referee. Interesting. Okay, so Switzerland. Sommer in goal. Elvedi, Akanji, Rodriguez as the back three. Widmer, Shaqiri in with Freuler. Zuba's on the left-hand side, Shaqiri and Bolo and Seferovic, so no surprises there. Xhaka, of course, is suspended, and that's going to be a big blow for Switzerland, and I think that does give Spain even more of an advantage. I think they could really control that midfield. But Shaqiri, I've heard good things about him and seen him in the Champions League. He's pretty decent. I'm surprised he hasn't been playing more often in the Euros. And then, with Spain, we know the lineup is Unai Simon, Jordi Alba, Pau Torres, Laporte, Azpilicueta, Pedri, Busquets, Koke, Ferran Torres, Sarabia, Morata. That's probably the best lineup that Spain could go for at this moment in time. That looks very, very solid. My thoughts on Switzerland players remain the same. I wouldn't be going for the defenders. I probably would just be going for Shaqiri, Zuba, or Seferovic if you want to make a little cheeky punt. Let's see. Jesus, I've actually missed so many questions there. Apologies. Should I get Morata and Sarabia for a -8 or just Morata for a -4? It depends who you're getting rid of them for, but obviously I'm assuming it's eliminated players. I probably would just get Morata for a -4. Torres for a -4. I already have Sarabia and Morata. If you already have a starting lineup, there's no need, but if you are, getting Torres and that makes it your 11th player, then yeah, go for it. Also, Immobile versus Ferran Torres. Sorry for the random questions. It's fine. I prefer Ferran Torres, Kenny. I want to transfer in Kane, Sterling, Sarabia and Torres. The problem is I'm just 0.1 million short. What would you do if you were in my place? Oh yeah, I get that. Obviously, because you don't want to take an additional hit to make up that 0.1 million. If there is maybe someone more expensive you can get rid of that is eliminated, then that would obviously be ideal, but I'm assuming you don't. So in that situation, you don't want to compromise your transfers because those are the 4 players you've identified and that you want. So that's a tough one. I mean, maybe provide your full team, Aranya, and then I can give you maybe a more concrete answer, but I'm not so sure. Kyle Walker or Maguire? I'd go for Maguire because Walker, I don't think there's a big difference in terms of, the attacking upside, and also Maguire's more nailed. Sarabia over Lukaku, captain? I probably would, Kareem, personally. -4 for Sterling or Maguire? I think Sterling has more upside, but Maguire's more likely to, not blank, if you know what I mean. I think Maguire's more likely to get 6 points, but I'd probably go for Sterling. Would you go for Luke Shaw, or is there enough of a risk to just go for Stones or Maguire instead? Look, if I was on a wild card, I would, but with a free transfer, I'd probably just go for Maguire, personally. Lukaku or Immobile? I prefer Lukaku. Should I take Dolberg instead of Morata and take the risk? Yeah, as I said before, Daniel, I'd just go for Morata. Sarabia or Ferran? I'd go for Ferran Torres this week. Playing 10 with 1 sub for a -4, playing 11 with 1 sub for a -8. Which one? I just go for playing 10 with 1 sub, and I'm guessing that midfielder is Berardi. Hi Dylan, changing my team a bit. Pickford, Donnarumma, Stones, Meunier, Spinazzola, Mela, Callas, Sarabia, Shaqiri, KDB, Sterling, Damsgaard, Morata, Kane, Schick. Have risked KDB for Lukaku worth it? Yeah, that looks pretty good to be honest. And yeah, I can understand why you didn't go for Lukaku. It allows you to get Patrick Schick, for example. That looks like a really good team to be fair, and that could do really well. Lukaku or Kane for a -4 with other forwards, Morata and Immobile? I'd go for Kane because he's more likely to go through as well, and he's got a better fixture. Keep Pau Torres? Yeah, I would, Rajani. I would. He's playing tonight. Sarabia or Torres captain? I'd go for Torres. Insigne or Shaqiri Zuba? Good question. I'd probably go for Shaqiri to be honest, and that's why in my wildcard team, Shaqiri is in it. Invest in Lukaku or De Bruyne? If I had a wild card, I'd probably just go for Lukaku, but they're both good options, to be honest. How many points are you on? Well, on the top of your screen, as you can see, I am on 252 points overall, 68 points for the week, and my overall rank is around 34k, and the league code is there if you want to join. I'm playing a back three, by the way, and defender is what I'm looking to take out. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, that would make sense, to be honest, but I just stick with a -4 if possible. But having said that, I am considering maybe taking an additional hit for Harry Maguire in for Dumfries. Zuba or Shaqiri? I'd go for Shaqiri because of the more, I think he's more explosive. And if Switzerland were to score tonight, I think Shaqiri will, start firing again like he did against Turkey. Grealish worth a punt? I think he might be worth a punt, but honestly, I rather would have Sarabia, Ferran Torres, Raheem Sterling, De Bruyne, these sorts of players, Damsgaard. So I personally wouldn't go there, but he might be worth it. Drop one between Morata and Torres. That's tough, man. That's really tough. Maybe Morata, and you can go for Schick instead, but yeah, that's tough. Zubo, Shaqiri? Yeah, Shaqiri for me. Opinions on Poulsen? Well, I'm not sure if he's going to start. I don't know if he's fully fit yet. I haven't actually seen concrete news about him, but I think if he is fit, he will start. And that might be a bit unfair on Dolberg, but I'm just going to try avoid Poulsen and Dolberg. The reason why is because there's kind of a headache surrounding them because the other one might start instead. Can do Chiesa to Shaqiri and Maguire to Trippier to fund it. Most of my drafts are 0 million in the bank. Which duo is better? And would you try to fund 0.2 million elsewhere to do Maguire to Stones for no yellow card risk? Chiesa to Shaqiri and Maguire to Trippier. Yeah, Chiesa to Shaqiri and Maguire to Trippier. I just stick with Maguire. I wouldn't go for Trippier, to be honest. I just stick with Chiesa and Maguire. And if you're on a wild card, then yeah, go for Stones. And yeah, I think you are, Marco. So yeah, I prefer Stones over Maguire. Luke Shaw, Maguire. On a wild card, I'd prefer Luke Shaw, but otherwise, maybe Maguire just because he's more nailed. Morata or Torres? Torres for me. My backup player is Damsgaard for the -8 question. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but then again, I'm in a very similar position. I just would try to stick to a -4, and if needed, then go for a -8, but I would not recommend -12s or more. Please help, stuck here. Morata, Sarabia and Sterling or Kane, Torres, Sarabia, says Digor. Very good question, and to be honest, that's exceptionally tough. To be honest, I probably would say I'd go for Kane, Torres and Sarabia, but that's really tough. Who should I captain for Italy players? I wouldn't captain any of them personally, but if you were to go for one, I think Spinazzola or Immobile or Insigne, one of those three. And I'd probably be leaning towards Insigne or Spinazzola. Invest in Lukaku or De Bruyne. As I said before to you, Fernandes, I probably would invest in Lukaku on a wild card, but otherwise, I think De Bruyne will start and he's just exceptional. But to get Sterling, I need a backup player to free up money for the -8 question. Yeah, that's tough. In that case, maybe go for the -8. 5 English, 3 Spanish players, or 4 for both. I probably would just... Maybe 4 for both is a bit more advisable, but I think England are more likely to go through than Spain. But yeah, they're both good. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. I'd go for 4 from each, to be honest. I wouldn't go for 5 of one team. Thank you, Brewer. Morata, Torres, Sarabia, Seferovic, Zuba, Shaqiri. Choose 3. I'm pretty sure you asked this already, but if you haven't, Morata, Torres, and I'd probably say Sarabia, to be honest. I actually really back Spain, but if you want a bit more of a balance, go for Shaqiri instead of Sarabia. Shaqiri or Zuba, I'd go for Shaqiri. Damsgaard or Ferran Torres, I'd go for Ferran Torres. Is it worth a hit for Maguire? Well, to be honest, it might just be, because if he does get the clean sheet, he gets you 2 extra points and he can get you additional points in the semi-finals and final if England do progress all the way to the final. On a wild card, I have Luke Shaw and Pau Torres. Should I switch Shaw to Maguire and get a more expensive defender instead of Pau Torres? Well, to be honest, if I was on a wild card, I would advise Unai Simon in goal as your second goalkeeper, and to cover maybe the other defenders, you can go for Spinazzola, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Mailer and Thomas Meunier. So that's what I would personally do, but otherwise you could just keep Pau Torres. I think he's just a cheap, good value. -4 for Kane in and KDB out. I wouldn't be getting rid of KDB, mate. I wouldn't be getting rid of him. Is it worth a hit for Maguire? Yeah, as I said before, I'm not too sure about that, and I might do it myself, but it could be going forward. But it ultimately depends on how much you back England to get a clean sheet and to also go through. Welcome, FPL Flair. Thank you for joining in. Lukaku or KDB? Fernandes, once again, I probably would be going for Lukaku, but they're both good options. Who's on penalties for Spain and Czech Republic? For Spain, I think it is Morata, but maybe now it could be Ferran Torres. Someone would have to correct me on that. I'm surprised that Rodri isn't on penalties actually, but I don't think he's even starting tonight, is he? As for Czech Republic, it should be Patrick Schick. He took the last one. What are your match predictions for today? Thank you for reminding me, mate. Really appreciate it, because I actually forgot. So let's bring up the match predictions. So just for any of you who don't know, there are more games in Euro Fantasy Football other than Fantasy Football. Same with UCL. They always do this on the UEFA game. You can do a tournament predictor, and you can also do... Let me just get this up. Actually, I haven't done them. And also there's a sticker album, there's a match predictor. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, so this is just, you know, for your own leisure. I don't earn anything from this. Match predictor, let's go for this. So I think the initial predictions I made, look, 3-2 Spain. I might change that now because I really like Spain's team, so I'm not too sure about that. So I think I might go for a 2-1. Belgium 1-0 against Italy. I might change that. I'll be looking at the lineups and making changes accordingly. That's how I'd probably go. I'd be using the booster, by the way, which is a bit like a captaincy, or joker as it's called in UCL Fantasy. I'd be using on England to beat Ukraine 2-0, Denmark to beat Czech Republic 2-1, but I'm not too sure about that, to be fair. 1-0 Belgium against Italy, and yeah, 2-1 Spain against Switzerland. I'm not too sure about that, though. I think Spain could shore things up at the back today, but they do concede a lot of chances, and they've done that throughout the tournament. And as for, let's go to the tournament predictor, knockout predictor. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, what did I put? Belgium, England final. Yeah, so I'd be going, oh, look, I put France. Yeah, well, that's definitely not happening, is it? So, yeah, Belgium, France. Well, yeah, I'm not even sure about that. England to beat Sweden. By the way, Czech Republic, I didn't predict them to beat Netherlands. I edited that. But, yeah, Denmark to face England. Yeah, that's what I probably would think. And, yeah, Belgium against France. Belgium, England final, potentially, if not Italy. That's a really tough one to call, but I might change that. Let's see. Let's get my team back up. Lukaku or Sarabia captain? I go for Sarabia, Harrison. Patrick Schick is a good buy. I think he is, but I wouldn't be going for him myself unless I had a wild card, potentially. Who should I bring in for a -8? Says Shadow Gaming. I was looking at bringing in Immobile, Kane, Sarabia, Sterling and Stones, taking out Ronaldo, Depay, Wijnaldum, Dumfries and Kulusevski. Thoughts on these transfers? Yeah, that looks pretty solid. I would maybe hesitate about Immobile. I would hesitate about him because he might get eliminated as well. I might be wrong about that, but I like the rest. The rest look really good. KDB starting. According to Sky Italia, he will be, but ultimately, I couldn't tell you for sure. We'll have to wait and see after the deadline. Take a -8 to have 11 players. In that case, then yeah, but I wouldn't go overboard. So I wouldn't make a -12, -16 or more. I think a -8 is the max I'd go for. Paulson, a good buy. Yeah, I think he's a good buy, but the problem I have with him is, one, is he fully fit? And two, even if he is fully fit, is he going to start over Dolberg? I just don't know. So personally, that's why I went with Damsgaard and I went with Morata up front. Who's on penalties for Spain and Czech Republic? Yeah, as I said before, with Czech Republic, I'm fairly certain it is going to be Patrick Schick. As for Spain, it's either Morata, Ferran Torres, or is it Rodri? Let's see. Is he starting tonight? No, he's not. It's Sergio Busquets, Koke and Pedri. Yeah, so I think it'd be Ferran Torres or Morata. That's what I think anyway. I might be wrong about that. Let's see, there's a lot of questions that I've missed out, so apologies for that. Maguire, Jordi Alba, Maguire. KDB will be fit for Italy. I think he will be, especially if Sky Italia are right. Morata, Sarabia captain. Very tough. There's not really a right or wrong answer. I'd probably edge towards Morata, but Sarabia might be a bit more explosive. So ultimately, it's a 50-50 one for me. But if I had Ferran Torres, I'd be going for him. Shaqiri or Zuba, Shaqiri, Stones Maguire or Stones Shaw. I'd go for Stones Maguire probably because they're more nailed for this game week. Thanks Dylan for the awesome content, sitting in 261 points, -4 for Damsgaard. I'm 4th currently in my money on the line fantasy league. I think you're saying $75 in the bag right now. First place is just 10 points ahead. Good luck, Roger. Hopefully you can get that first place, and yeah, you're doing very well this year. Schick or Lukaku? I'd probably go for Lukaku, but Schick could be... I think Schick could outperform him this week, to be honest, but I just like Lukaku, having him in just in case Belgium go through. Who's the best dark horse this week? By that, do you mean fantasy asset or team? In terms of team, I think Czech Republic are probably the ones that we are underestimating the most that could beat Denmark. As for an asset, that's a very good question. I think it could be one of the Switzerland players, like Seferovic or Shaqiri. Otherwise, maybe a Patrick Schick, for example. Will De Bruyne start? I think he will, but once again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm literally just basing it off what I saw yesterday from Sky Italia, where they were reporting that he's going to start, but I'm not sure. Hey Dylan, hope all is well. Quick technical question. If the defender subs on in the 60th minute and holds a clean sheet till penalties, do they receive the clean sheet points? That's a very good question. I think so long as they play 60 minutes, at least, they will get the clean sheet point. But yeah, that's a very good question you raised, to be honest. No, it isn't Berardi, mate. It's Damsgaard. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Sarabia or Ferran or Alba for captain? I'd go for Ferran Torres, Alex. Limitless. Lukaku, Morata, Harry Kane, KDB, Sarabia, Ferran Torres, Insigne, Sterling, Spinazzola, Laporte, Thomas Meunier, Mailer, Stones, Pickford. And yeah, you might as well go for another keeper. Like, yeah, like Donnarumma or Simon. But yeah, that looks exceptional, to be honest. That's a very good team. Chiesa or Berardi to start, says Zoltan. I think Chiesa. I got -8 for 4 changes. Isn't that meant to be a -4? That probably means you made a transfer beforehand, because you get 3 transfers going into this round, and if you make 4, it will be a -4 hit. None of my players are out. How many hits should I take? Probably a -8 max. I wouldn't be going more than a -8, so that should be your kind of ceiling. Take a -4 or -8. Do not take more than that, in my opinion. Sterling or Sarabia? Probably Sterling. Sarabia or Berardi? Sarabia. Shaw or Stones? I'd probably go for Stones. Chiesa will start. I agree, Ebby. I agree. Berardi or Shaqiri? I'd go for Shaqiri. I don't think Berardi's going to start. Alba or Azpilicueta? I'd go for Alba because of the attacking potential. Will Damsgaard be a good take? I think so, but one thing to bear in mind with Damsgaard is he does get substituted quite early, and he was very lucky in Matchday 4 to get the clean sheet point and the 60 minutes played point. Maguire for a -4, go for it, Ahmed. If you back England to reach the final, then definitely go for it. Sarabia and all in Spain, or Schick and spread risk? If you're on a wild card, then maybe it's worth going for someone like Patrick Schick and spreading it around a little bit, but I'd still have 3 or 4 Spain players, I think, but I wouldn't go for 5 personally. Mela, Spinazzola, third defender. Who would be your third defender be? Price, no, object. Okay. Yeah, I'd go for an England defender, so John Stones probably. Will KDB play 90 minutes? This is where we're entering uncharted territory. I don't know, but personally, if KDB is just fit enough, then I think he will play 90 minutes, no doubt about it. He's too important for Belgium. Do you think it's worth it to take a hit for Hollis to be able to get Sterling this match and free up budget for the next round of matches? Yeah, I think it might be. It might be, to be honest. But going forward, I think Czech Republic will be out. That's according to what I think is going to happen. So I'm not so sure, but it could be worth it. Sarabia or Torres for captaincy? I'd go for Torres. Schick or Kane? I already have Sterling. I'd still go for Kane personally. What do you think about choosing Schick and Seferovic over Kane? I think they're 2 good differentials, and they could really be the difference between, a kind of, a 10k rank with a 50k rank, but I would go for Kane. Unai Simon or Donnarumma? This week I'd go for Unai Simon and cover Italy defence with Spinazzola. Who's on penalties for Spain and Czech Republic? Yeah, YOLO Gamer, as I said before, because I did answer your question before, so hopefully you get it this time. In terms of Czech Republic, Patrick Schick will take penalties, and for Spain, it should be Morata or Ferran Torres. Grealish or Ferran Torres? Ferran Torres, definitely, no doubt about it for me. Do I take a -8 to get a full team or play with 10 players? It's not the end of the world. You could just stick with the -4 and 10 players, but I think a -8 is fine, so you could do that, especially if you're getting in a midfielder or attacker. And if that's the case, go for the -8, but don't go more than that. Shaqiri or Sterling? Go for Sterling. On a wildcard, Shaw or Mcguire? On a wildcard, I'd probably go for Shaw. I need 5 million defender. Any suggestions? You could go for Thomas Callas as a bit of a differential, but if you don't have him already, get Mela. Definitely get Mela. Kane or Lukaku? Harry Kane for me. -8 for Pickford and Stones. Maguire instead of Dumfries and Stekelenburg in my starting 11, both likely to get clean sheets. I think so, to be honest. And there's a lot of questions that I've not been able to get. Grealish or Ferran Torres? Ferran Torres. KDB or Sterling? Sterling. Torres as captain? Yeah, I would be going for him if I had him. Azpilicueta or Jordi Alba for Spain defender? I'd go for Jordi Alba, Jay. How many minus points did you get? -4 hit I took. Ferran Torres or Sarabia? Ferran Torres. Sarabia and all in Spain or Schick and spread risk? I would spread the risk probably, but I would have 3 or 4 Spain players. Is it a bad idea to use Limitless? No, I think it's a good idea to use Limitless. I would be using the Limitless right now, because if you use it in the semi-finals, you'd be going into the final with your quarter-final team, and you don't want that happening. So use the Limitless now, I think. Choose one amongst Torres and Morata. I would go for Torres probably. Grealish or Sarabia? Sarabia. Is your wildcard team, you had 5 English, but you said you wouldn't go for 5 from one team. Let me check. So, yeah, true. I mean, this is the thing. If I was wildcarding, I am back in England, and look, this might sound a bit weird, but I honestly wouldn't mind if England get knocked out at the same time, so I'd be kind of jinxing them. But in terms of England, I really back them to go through. But in terms of, some people who might be fearful of a Ukraine upset, or even Denmark or Czech Republic beating them in the semi-finals, then ultimately you don't need 5 players, and that's why I always say you don't need it. And I definitely wouldn't be going for 5 Spanish players. I think that's more of a Switzerland are more likely to beat Spain than Ukraine are likely to beat England. But yeah, fair enough. You make a good point. You could always go for, instead of Maguire, you could go for Callas, for example, or maybe get Patrick Schick up front instead of Kane or Lukaku. It's ultimately down to you how you go about it. But if I was wildcarding, I probably would be going for 4 or 5 England players. But there's no need to have 5. Definitely not. Let me try to get the questions up again. It's gone all the way back down again. Let's see. Jesus, I've missed a lot of questions here. Yeah, some of these questions I've already answered, so I won't be answering them again. How many minus points? Yeah, -4. In your wildcard, yeah, I already answered that. Grealish, Ferran Torres or Damsgaard, Ferran Torres, Ebby. Shaqiri with a wildcard. It's just a way of covering Switzerland, and even if they get knocked out, Shaqiri can do really well. That's the way I look at it, but you know, once again, I have to stress this. There are different ways you can go about it. You don't have to get Shaqiri just because I have him in this wildcard team, this hypothetical one. You could go for Chiesa, for example. So, yeah, really, it doesn't matter. You know, you don't have to go for him. Is it bad for a Limitless? No, it isn't. Harry Kane or Lukaku? I'd be going for Harry Kane because he's more likely to go through. Let me just get Shaqiri back up. Big Shaq. And yeah, we've got 25 minutes left for the deadline, so no need to worry. We've got plenty of time still. Going with 3 English and 4 Italians with my wildcard, should I? On a wildcard, I wouldn't go for 4 Italians. I'd go for 2 or 3. That's a game where it could go either way. And to be honest, if KDB is going to start, you would maybe fancy Belgium to go through. So I don't get the reasoning behind having 4 Italian players. But if you back Italy, then go for it. You know, it's ultimately down to what you think is going to happen. Yeah, Ebby already answered your question. I go for Ferran Torres. Last time I said Dolberg could be a good choice for this match day. I think Schick is going to come good and Hollers is going to do good. Fair enough. I'm not sure about Hollers, but Patrick Schick could do very well. Immobile, Morata, Torres, KDB. Who should I captain? I'd go for Torres. I already have 2 England defenders. Should I get 1 more or get a Belgian defender? Getting a Belgian defender ahead of this week is risky, but if it's Thomas Meunier, who has a lot of attacking upside, then it may be worth it. So in your case, I'd probably get Thomas Meunier. Is it worth taking a -4 to transfer in Stones, Shaw, Jordi Alba? I already have 2 England players, Kane and Maguire, and 3 Spain players, Morata, Sarabia, Simon. I think it's worth it, yeah, potentially. I'd probably get Stones. Sarabia captain, I think he's a good choice, but if I had Ferran Torres, I'd be going for him. But yeah, I think him, Morata, and Ferran Torres are all good. Morata or Torres for captain? I'd go for Torres, mate. Chiesa starting? I think so, Mauricio. I think he will. Zuba or Sarabia? Sarabia. Zuba, very good option. I've talked about him before. From Switzerland, him, Shaqiri, and also Seferovic are the best ones you can go for. Depay and Dumfries out for Morata and Stones for a -8. You could maybe just stick it to a -4 and just get Morata, but it's up to you. But yeah, maybe a -8 is worth it, but don't make more hits than -8 personally. That's what I think. Aspie and Schmeichel or Alba and Bushcan. I'd probably go for Aspie and Schmeichel, but not ideal for me. Should I risk going short over Stones as I've gone Morata over Mobley and have funds? Yeah, I think if you believe Shaw's going to start, then yeah, go for him. Donnarumma or Simon? I'd go for Simon this week. Anyone getting Soufal? Yeah, he's another good choice, but I think he's also another one at risk of suspension, even if Czech Republic do go through. Dylan, let's say Morata makes a goal. Will you change captaincy for Kane tomorrow? That's a very good choice. To be honest, I might be conservative with the captaincy. So if Morata gets 6 points, I might just stick it with him. Because there's only 2 opportunities to get it right. So it'd probably be Morata today and Kane tomorrow, but it could also be Sterling. But yeah, I might actually just stick it. I need to get ahead of my mini league rivals, so should I go for Shaqiri or Sterling? I'd go for Sterling, mate, personally, Nuclear Atoms. Is it worth a -4 for Sterling? I think so, Sandro, because even if he blanks this week, he could make it up in the semi-finals or final if they go through. Could you suggest a wildcard squad? Yeah, so Saketh, this is my wildcard squad, which I've shown other people. And if you want to make a few changes, you could, for example, go for Patrick Schick instead of one of the strikers. You could go for Lorenzo Insigne instead of maybe Ferran Torres, for example, one of the other midfielders. Maybe Zuba instead of Shaqiri or Chiesa. And in terms of the defence, to be honest, I'd probably stick it like that. But you could maybe go for, instead of Maguire, Luke Shaw if you have enough money. And another way you can go about it is going for Soufal or Callas in the defence. But yeah, that's just different ways you can go about it. Captain, Ferran, mate. Michael, I'd go for Ferran Torres captain. -20 hit. Oof, that's going to be tough to make back, but good luck, mate. Lukaku or Immobile? Lukaku for me. Will Damsgaard be a good pick? I think so, but he might be substituted before the 60th minute, which is very frustrating, potentially. Is it worth a hit for Torres or Sarabia? I think so, mate. I think it is worth it, and I'd go for Torres. A lot of people are going for Sarabia. Is it worth taking a -4 hit to transfer in Stones, Shaw, Jordi Alba? I already answered that question, and I think it is worth it, and I'd go for Stones. Which countries are playing soon? The lineups are out, mate. For Spain versus Switzerland, they're going to play at 5 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock, it will be Italy versus Belgium. And then tomorrow, we have England versus Ukraine, and also, how am I forgetting this? Oh, yeah, Czech Republic against Denmark, yeah. Best Spanish defender for points potential? Definitely Jordi Alba, no doubt about it. Zuba or Sarabia? Sarabia. Shawn Mcguire? I'd go for Shaw if you back him to start. Otherwise, just go for Mcguire for security of minutes. I have Shaqiri and Sarabia, Alba, Spinazzola, Insigne today. Who would you put as captain? From those lot, I'd go for Sarabia. Best forward under 7.9 million? I probably would say Yaremchuk, to be honest. I'm trying to think. Maybe I'd say Dolberg, but I'm not so sure if he's going to start. And otherwise, it'd be Poulsen, and then it'd be Yaremchuk. Chiesa starting? Yes, Mauricio, I think he will start. Sarabia or Ferran Torres for captain? Ferran Torres. De Bruyne or Sterling? I'd go for Sterling. 8.1 million midfielder? I have Sarabia. I think Ferran Torres is 8.1. Yeah, he is. Go for Ferran Torres, in my opinion. Captain Sarabia or Captain Morata? I would go for Morata, but it's a 50-50. You could go either way. I think Sarabia has a bit more points potential. Alba captain? It could be a shout, but I personally would be going for Morata, Sarabia, or Ferran Torres. And ignore the captaincy, by the way, on Sarabia. This was before I changed the captaincy. My captain is Morata right now. I'm thinking of De Bruyne, but might be too risky. Yeah, it might be too risky, but maybe that's what makes it so appealing. And if you have Sterling or Kane tomorrow, it's not too bad. So maybe it's worth it, actually, going for Kevin De Bruyne. Should I go for a -12 to get a full 11? I lost 10 players last match day. -12, it's difficult. I'd stick to a -8 if you can. And if you have 10 really good players, then it's fine. Take a -4 for Morata if you have 11 players. No, I would probably just stick to 11 players. Should I take a -8 to get a full starting 12? No, starting 11, says Lucas. Yeah, maybe on -8. -4, -8, that's my limit. That's just the way I look at it. Andrew says, is Chiesa a good option? He is, and on a wild card, it's between him and Shaqiri for that £7 million midfielder spot. Is it worth to have 5 England players? I think it is, but maybe it makes more sense to go for 3 or 4 England players. But on a wild card, if I had it, I would go for 5 or 4 or 5. But there's no need to go for 5, in my opinion. Will De Bruyne play? I think he will. According to Sky Italia, he is going to start. Kenny says, hey Dylan, who would you pick as your third defender after Mela and Spinazzola? Yeah, I would go for Stones. Yeah, I'd go for Stones, mate. Stones. And if not, Thomas Meunier. Immobile or Morata? I'd go for Morata this week. -8 to get starting 11, yes. Chiesa or Insigne? I'd go for... That's a tough one. Maybe just Insigne because he's more nailed. Chiesa might lose a spot going into the semi-finals if Italy do go that far. Chiesa or Berardi? Chiesa will probably start, mate. Seferovic, is it a good choice? He is a good choice. And from Switzerland, he's... among the 3 best players you can go for, along with Zuba and Shaqiri. But I wouldn't go for Seferovic, me personally. But I think he's a good one. Shaw or Sterling? Sterling, yeah, Sterling. Chiesa or Berardi? Yeah, Chiesa's going to start. Morata or Torres captain? I would go for Torres, mate. Torres. My mini league has Morata. Should I go for the same or Immobile? I wouldn't really look, if you back Morata to do well, just go for him. I don't think you have to, be different. I always say this, just go with who you think is going to score the most points. But yeah, I would go for Morata. Zuba or KDB? I'd go for KDB. Pick one from each side. Lukaku, Immobile, Forgan, Hazard, Sterling. I have 4 Italy and 0 Belgium. I'd go for Lukaku, and yeah, I'd go for Sterling. -8, yeah, I'd go for a -4 or -8 to get a full starting 11, but no more than that. Ferran or Sterling? I'd probably go for Sterling. Will Shaw start? I think he will, but there's a chance of him not, starting. Torres or Sterling? I'd go for Sterling. Seferovic and Sarabia or Sarabia Morata? I'd go for Sarabia Morata, but maybe the other, duo is maybe more ideal. You balance it out a bit more. -8 to get Sterling and Shaqiri. Nah, I just stick to a -4 and avoid Shaqiri. No problem, Mauricio. Sarabia or Morata for captain? I'd go for Morata, but it's a 50-50 one. I think they're both good. Seferovic or Schick? I think Schick. Is Vaclik better than Schmeichel? If you already have Mailer and you have Denmark cover, then maybe you could just go for Vaclik, but I'm not too sure. With goalkeepers, I'm just not looking at them because obviously I don't have a wild card, but I think Vaclik might be a decent one. Insigne or Ferran Torres? Definitely Torres for me. I took a -12. I will donate £1,000. Take a minus. Oh, you would donate £1,000 if you take a -12. Well, either way, I don't think you can donate anyway. It's not not enabled on this channel yet. But yeah, nah, I'm not taking a -12, mate. No doubt about it. Insigne or Torres? Torres. Is Chiesa going to play? I think so. My mini league has Morata. Should I go for the same? Yeah. I'd stick with who you think is going to get the most points, whether that's Morata or Immobile. It's up to you. I would go for Morata. I have Sarabia and Torres in midfield and Seferovic in attack instead of Morata. What do you think? I think that's a good balance, and that looks really good, to be honest. What is your wildcard teammate? I'm not on a wildcard, but if I was to wildcard, I'd probably go for something like this, and maybe instead of Shaqiri, I'd go for Chiesa. But yeah, I think everything else would be the exact same. So let me just put in Chiesa in there now. I think that gives me enough money to do, Maguire to Luke Shaw for a bit more attacking upside. So let's get him in. Yeah, so I'd go for something like this. You could always go for Maguire and Shaqiri instead of Chiesa, but that's just the way I look at it. I'm backing Spain and England heavily. Italy, Belgium is very tight. I don't know who's going to go through. That's why I have 2 players from each team. And then with the 5 transfers you get going into the semi-finals, you can start to load up on either Belgium or Italy players depending on who advances. That's the way I would go about it. -8, Meunier and Morata. I wouldn't do that, probably. -4 involving Meunier, who faces Italy anyway. I'm just not so sure. Thank you, Life. Really appreciate it. Is it Sivu for Life? Really appreciate the shout-out. Shaw and Maguire. Shaw, if you aren't too worried about rotation. Otherwise, just go for Maguire. It removes that headache. Spinazzola tonight will be a good pick since Italy has not played any strong teams so far during the Euros. Yeah, they haven't really played anyone strong, but they are a good defence. I personally would be going for a Spanish asset today, or maybe a Switzerland asset. I think that game could be more high scoring. There'll be, more points potential there. Best strikers and midfielders, it'd be what you see on screen. I think Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Ferran Torres, he's someone I've been banging on about today. Morata, Sarabia, I think they're the best ones. And then if you want to kind of go different, look at Czech Republic. You can go for Patrick Schick up front. From Ukraine, go for Yaremchuk or Yarmolenko. Bear in mind that if Yarmolenko gets a yellow and Ukraine advance, he misses the semi-final. And also, I'm trying to think, Zuba, Shaqiri, and Seferovic from Switzerland. So there's different options from different teams. Shaw or Stones? I'd just go for Stones. Morata, Lukaku for captain? I'd go for Morata. Morata versus Schick versus Dolberg, I'd go for Morata, but Schick is a good one too. Maguire plus Stones or Shaw plus Walker, I'd go for Maguire and Stones, Nasran. Will Berardi be a good pick? I just don't think he's going to start, so he's going to be very limited in terms of how many points he can earn. Leading my mini league by 23 points. Should I take a -8? If it allows you to get a starting 11, then yeah. But if you're taking a -8 just for 12 and 13, 14 players, then there's no real need, to be honest. Is Damsgaard really worth the -4? I know it's more of a funding. Maybe downgrade Sterling to Ferran Torres and keep Forsberg and save 4 points. Yeah, but you wouldn't want to be getting rid of Sterling, You want to just be getting rid of eliminated players and all of this. In my case, I got Damsgaard for a -4, technically, because it funds the other moves. And also, I backed Denmark to go through, and Damsgaard could get some attacking returns. But yeah, I get your concerns there. Morata or Lukaku for captain? Morata for me. Maguire will start versus Ukraine. Yeah, I think he will, Ismail. I think he will. Would you have Maguire or Walker on a wild card? Walker not absolutely nailed, but near enough, whereas I'd say Harry is fully nailed. Yeah, I'd still go for Maguire. For me, it's Pickford and Stones. They're the best ones you can get from England in terms of the defence. And then it's Maguire and Shaw. Shaw for the attacking upside, Maguire just for being nailed. I don't think he's going to get booked, but that could be famous last words. Do I go Damsgaard or someone else? Around 6 million? Yeah, there's not really anyone. You could just go for Hollis as or Holes as a budget midfielder around 4.5 million, but Damsgaard's the best around 6 million, with Berardi potentially being benched. Would you transfer in either Sterling or Morata? I'd probably go for Sterling if I had to pick from them, but Morata's a really good choice this week. -8 for 2 bench covers, not for me, Nuno Espirito. I call it Espirito, Espina. I wouldn't go for that, mate. I'd just go for a -4, if that. Thanks, lad, for your help as always. Love from Malaysia. Big up, Malaysia. Really appreciate you joining the stream again, and hope to see you in future live streams too. Will Trippier play? This is the thing. This is why I've always avoided England fullbacks. I just don't know if it's going to be Reece James, Walker, Trippier, or Shaw. I think the first 2 choices are Walker and Luke Shaw, but England could also go to a back 3 when they face a better team like Belgium or Italy. And then Walker goes into centre-back with Maguire and Stones, and then that means Reece James or Trippier go right wing-back. Most likely it'd be Trippier. So in terms of the pecking order of right-backs, I think it's Walker, then Trippier, then Reece James, and in left-backs it's Shaw, then also Ben Chilwell. But Trippier can also play left-back, but I don't think that's going to happen again this tournament. But in terms of your question, I think there might be rotation in England's defence, so I just couldn't tell you for sure. Who would be good for the bench? I mean, I'm not sure if you have a wild card or not, but in terms of who would be good on your bench, Damsgaard, I guess. I think he's probably a popular pick in terms of, having him on the bench. Shaqiri or Torres? Torres for me, Emmanuel. Joined in late, but team is almost the same as your wild card draft. Yeah. I think everyone who's wildcarding will have a similar team. There's going to be limited options, and imagine using it in the semi-finals or final. Even your choices are limited even less. But yeah, I'm not surprised by that, and hopefully you do very well. Is a -4 point worth hit to get Maguire? I got Stones already and 0.1 million short of Shaw. I was in the exact same situation as you, mate. I think it could be worth it actually for Maguire, and I might actually just take an additional hit for him, but I'm not exactly sure if it's worth it, to be honest. Because he has to get the clean sheet or an attack in return in order to justify that, and you're not really gaining anything from it, maybe 1 or 2 additional points. Obviously if he scores and gets a clean sheet, that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure. I think it could be worth it, but it ultimately depends on what you think is going to happen with England. Do you think they're going to keep a clean sheet for 1, and do you think they're reaching the semi-final or final? And if the answer is yes, then maybe just go for him, I think. But yeah, let me get the videos, or should I say the chat back up. It's kind of frozen my screen, so apologies for that. Let's see. Still 140 people watching, really appreciate it, and we're almost done in terms of the deadline. Italy, vamos. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, whoever wins from that game, I want to win the whole tournament, and they're realistic options. Obviously, Denmark would be, I wouldn't mind them winning it, or even Czech Republic or Ukraine. But from realistic options, I think, yeah, Belgium or Italy. Belgium's my first choice because I like their players a lot, and they've never won anything, so I'd like that. But if not, yeah, Italy, I don't mind them. -4 for Sterling or Maguire? I'd go for Sterling because of the attacking upside, to be honest. Will Berardi and Insigne surely start today? Insigne, yes. Berardi, I think it could be Chiesa. I might be wrong about that, by the way. But yeah, I think Chiesa's going to start. Morata, Lukaku, I go for Morata's captain. Do you think Grealish will play full 90 minutes? To be honest, I think he will start, but I think he'll be taken off around the 70th minute, something like that. So I don't think he gets the full 90. Is this your team? Yeah, what you see on screen right now is my team. Thank you, says Kimps. For 1 second I thought he said fuck you, but yeah, thank you so much, Kimps, really appreciate it. Best wildcard team, says Harrison, on screen. As I've showed for a long time during the stream, this is what I would wildcard to if given the chance. A few changes you could do is get a Czech Republic defender like Kalas or Sufar in there instead of maybe one of the English defenders. You could go for Patrick Schick as one of the strikers, or Seferovic. To be fair, you could also go for Maguire instead of Shaw, but that's up to you, down to personal preference. Maybe Donnarumma or Courtois instead of Simon, but I would get Pickford, to be honest, and I think that's the best goalkeeper combination you could go for on a wildcard right now. There's also Vaclav, to be fair, or Schmeichel, and who else? Yeah, instead of Chiesa, you could go for Zuba or Shaqiri, but the rest, I'd probably just, it'd be fairly nailed in my team. Hi Dylan, Sufal or Jordi Alba? I go for Jordi Alba for the attacking potential, and I think Spain are more likely to go through. On Limitless, should I go Damsgaard or someone else? On a Limitless, my midfield would be Kevin De Bruyne, Sarabia, Ferran Torres, Sterling, and probably Insigne. That would be my midfield 5, to be honest. Who to get from -4 to full 11? Damsgaard, sure. I have Stones, Kane, Sterling, or Ferran Torres. I get Ferran Torres, Alexander. Trippier's a good pick. He might be, but I'm just not so sure if he starts all the time. But yeah, if he starts, Trippier's a good pick. He's on set pieces. But Shaw, Mcguire and Stones remain my best choices, in my opinion, from their defence. Is Kiar nailed or is he injured? I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. I mean, that's news to me. If he's, I think he should be fine for tomorrow. But Mæhle's my first choice from Denmark defence, and then probably be Schmeichel. I have Sarabia and Morata also. Yeah, fair enough. I think they're both good options this week, and Ferran Torres. Morata or Seferovic, I'd go for Morata. Grealish or Ferran Torres or Damsgaard, I'd go for Ferran Torres, Ebby, as I said before. Stefanovic or Shaqiri, I go for Shaqiri from those two. Stones or Mcguire, Stones. Thanks for the answer, love from Indonesia. Big up Indonesia, thank you Rudy, and all the very best of luck this week, and also going into the semi-finals and final. Alba as captain, I'd go for Ferran Torres or Morata, or Sarabia personally, but Alba might be a good choice. Torres or Sarabia, I'd go for Torres as captain. Lukaku or Kane, I'd go for Kane because he's more likely to go through and he's got better fixtures. Who should I captain? Lukaku, Immobile, Torres or Hazard? I'd go for Torres, mate. I think that'd be very good. I subscribe. Thanks for the help, man. Thank you, Son VR. Really appreciate the subscription and hope to chat to you in future live streams too, and also in videos. Captaincy, Sarabia, Ferran or Morata. I personally would go for Ferran Torres, but Morata and Sarabia also very good choices. At the moment, Morata is my captain, as you can see here. And let me just completely make sure everything's fine. After what happened last week, I definitely don't want to be making any major F-ups. So yeah, Damsgaard's on my bench. He plays tomorrow. My starting 11 is Donnarumma, Spinazzola, John Stones, Mæhle, Berardi, Sterling, De Bruyne, Sarabia, Immobile, Kane and Morata captain. And if he blanks or doesn't do as well as I hope, I might captain Harry Kane or Sterling tomorrow, but that's a wait and see, to be honest. Hello, good luck this match day. Thank you, Versta. Really appreciate it. Good luck to you as well, and hopefully you do extremely well too. Torres, Sarabia, Immobile, Spinazzola captain. Torres, mate, as I've said all day. Is it a good option to captain Lukaku? I think it's not a bad option, but I don't think his ceiling is too high. He might score, but I don't see him getting double digits or more. I could be completely wrong about that. But yeah, I think I would be going for a Spanish asset. Why not England to win? Well, I think England are going to reach the final. If you're on about why I don't want England to win, that's because I support the Argentina national team and England is one of our biggest rivals. Stones or Shaw? I prefer Stones. Same with you, Deva. Dolberg or Braithwaite? I'd go for Dolberg. Morata or Seferovic? I'd go for Morata. Morata, Ferran Torres or Sarabia for captain? Morata. Oh no. No, sorry, I read another question. So Morata is better than Seferovic. And as for captain, Ferran Torres. I doubled in Belgium defence with Courtois and goal and Meunier in defence, hoping for the best. All the best to you too, lad, for this game week. Thank you, mate. And yeah, I think if I were to double up on Belgian defence, it'd be that exact combination you just said. But in terms of goalkeepers, if you are on a wild card, I would recommend Pickford thoroughly. I think he's the best option. He can get save points, he can get plenty of clean sheet points, and he's probably the most likely keeper to reach the final. KDB, well, based on Sky Italia, what they reported yesterday, it seems like he's going to be starting tonight. But of course, we won't know until the deadline passes, so we have to wait and see there. But either way, do not get rid of De Bruyne, I think. Do not get rid of him. Just keep him there and get rid of those players who are eliminated already, and especially those who are more expensive. Morata, Ferran Torres or Sarabia? I'd go for Ferran Torres, mate. Torres instead of Sarabia? Yeah, I'd go for him captain too. Yeah, I'd go for Torres, Ahmed. Mbappe or Ronaldo? In terms of who's better right now, Ronaldo still, I think. Good luck, Dylan. Good luck to you as well, Clifford. All the very best of luck, and hopefully you do very well today. And really appreciate everyone who is still here. 106 people watching. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram too. And yeah, just you can always contact me there, and also on YouTube. I do regular community posts. I put my team often, not only for this, but also UCL Fantasy and FPL. And yeah, also in videos, I always respond to comments, so feel free to join the discussion. And any last questions, put them forward and I'll be answering them. I don't think I'm going to be making any last minute changes. If I were to make one, it'd be Maguire in for Dumfries. If I had enough money, maybe I would have already got Shaw in for Dumfries, but I'm 0.1 million off of that move, so that is a bit unfortunate, to be honest. Good fucking luck, says Stone Hydra. Thank you. Good luck to you as well. 2 minutes left. Good luck. Have fun. Yeah, wow. Time has flown by. Time flies when you're having fun. Hopefully you lot have been enjoying it too. Azpilicueta or Pau Torres? Look, Azpilicueta's more nailed, but you know what? I go for Azpilicueta. I think he's also got less ownership. Good luck, Dylan. Good luck to you as well, Eddie. And hopefully you do really well. Why don't you have Messi? Yeah, well, there's no Copa America game, unfortunately. And for the World Cup, we have to wait until next year. But yeah, I'd definitely be getting Messi if he was available, and what a guy he is. And hopefully he wins Copa America this year. That would be great, but we'll see. Deadline locks in 2 minutes. Good luck, everyone. Another great stream, Dylan. Thank you, Kenny. All the very best of luck, and always nice chatting to you. And hopefully you do very well this week. And hopefully... But actually, from a neutral perspective, I love the upsets, but from a fantasy perspective, it kills us, doesn't it? Especially now, when no one's going to have a wild card, really, going into the semi-finals. But we'll see. Thank you, man, for giving us much thoughts. Much appreciated from Malaysia. Thank you, Vin. And once again, big up Malaysia. I've known them since I was a little kid, mate. Always watching, F1 there. And yeah, all the very best of luck. Also, the food's very nice. Really appreciate you joining in. Marcus says, stuck between the free Spanish attack on captaincy. Think I'm going Torres after he let me down versus Sweden and he was benched. Not sure about Chiesa and hope Maguire isn't carded and no Stones goal. To be honest, I would go for Torres, but Morata and Sarabia are also very good choices, so I can completely understand your kind of reservations there. And actually, yep, the deadline's passed and Shit, I should have changed my first scorer. I don't know if Sarabia's going to score first. Damn it. And apologies for any kids watching, but yeah, I probably would have put Ferran Torres first scorer or Morata. But it is what it is. It's done 2-1. Probably not the best prediction in the world. And we're locked in, and that's it. It's all grey. And now we've got 5 free transfers, so we've got a bit more flexibility. I don't think we're going to, be in as much trouble as we were going into this round. But let's wait and see. I mean, that could really backfire, especially if England get knocked out, Spain as well. But let's see. And in my case, Italy. I've got 4 Italian players, unfortunately. But yeah, and I've got Damsgaard on the bench just to make sure. Yeah, I mean, he plays tomorrow. That's fine. We'll get the lineups before. Yeah, let's wait and see what happens. I've got a starting 11, I think. Berardi's probably not going to play. But it is what it is. I'll go through your last remaining questions and comments before wrapping up. Thank you for that. Simon, Alba, Spinazzola, Shaw, Mela, Sarabia, Insigne, Torres, Kane, Morata, Schick, Pickford, Sterling, Walker, Soucek. That looks really good, to be honest, Jose Manuel. And yeah, I mean, there's not really a weakness there. I'm trying to think of one. That looks good. Have fun and good luck. Thank you, Catalin Holdcroft. I think that's how you say it. Or Caitlin. But yeah, all the very best of luck to you as well, and hopefully you do extremely well this week. Change De Bruyne to Sterling for 4 point? No, because De Bruyne might start today. What do you think? Yeah, as I said, Jose Manuel, I think it's exceptional, to be honest. It's a very good team, and my wildcard team would be identical, really. Your opinion about Grealish or England mid? I would be going for, personally, I'd be going for Sterling from English midfielders, but Grealish would be my second choice. Haven't really been putting much effort into my Euro fantasy the last few weeks. Massive respect to you for staying dedicated and motivated after that disaster at round of 16. Good luck to you and Argentina national team. Thank you very much for your best wishes. Hopefully Argentina do really well. They play tomorrow against Ecuador, so hopefully we get the win there and win the cup, but we'll wait and see. Good luck to you as well with Euro fantasy. And yeah, to be honest, I can see why, obviously, especially when we've had weeks like the round of 16, match day 4, where everything seems to go tits up in a way, and a lot of the assets that you think could be really good going forward, they're already eliminated. But yeah, I think we could still do really well, even if we don't put as much effort into it. But yeah, I've still been looking at it. I'm completely focused on Euro Fantasy Football, and then after this is done, it's all about FPL and UCL Fantasy when they come along. But yeah, appreciate the good sentiments and wishes, Dylan, and all the very best directed back at you. Good luck to you, Super Saud, as well, mate. Hopefully you do really well. And Jesus, I'm losing my voice. Today, Chile win. And to be honest, Jose Manuel, I wouldn't mind a Chile win. Obviously, I'm wary of Chile for obvious reasons. But I would rather Chile beat Brazil, and I just think it blows the Copa America race wide open for everyone. We would then be the favourites, but yeah, I just prefer Chile over Brazil anyway. I hate Brazil football-wise. Same with Germany and England, but it is what it is, The deadline has passed. Yes, it has. Good luck to you as well. Hopefully you do very well this week. Yeah, I've just used my wild card, says Bradley. Yeah, I mean, definitely the time to use it. Unless you have a limitless, then I would have used it then. But yeah, hopefully you do really well, mate. Why is Morata on 1 point, by the way? And Sarabia's on 2. Imagine Sarabia... Wait, what? Sarabia on 2 points and he's my cap. Wait, what? Let's see. Should be fine now when I refresh it. Yeah, Morata's my captain. Yeah, little visual glitch there. Let's see. More questions. Thanks, Dylan. Great stream. Thank you, Jose Manuel. Good luck to Chile tonight. And I'll actually be watching it. I'll be doing I'll be watching it along with some other Latin Americans, some Peruvians, some Ecuadorians, and Venezuelans. Let's see what happens there, mate. I still have Limitless, should I say, for the final. Personally, Bradley, I would have used the Limitless now and used this wild card going into the semi-finals, to be honest. So now I would probably use in the final, because if you use in the semi-final, you'd be heading into the final with your quarter-final team, and that's just not ideal. So yeah, I'd use in the final now. Thanks for the tips, man. No problem, Phantom, and all the very best of luck to you. Hopefully you do extremely well. Once again, I just offer my opinions and my thoughts and some statistics here and there, but ultimately it's all down to your opinions. And yeah, I would definitely not just do what other people do in terms of content creators, because they can get things wrong, to be honest, and I've definitely gotten a lot of things wrong recently. If England and Spain go out, everyone might as well delete the app. Exactly, Kenny. But I think one of those things could happen, but I don't see both of them happening at the same time. But then again, who thought Netherlands and France would have been knocked out last round, and even Sweden? These things can happen. Good luck, Dylan. Cheers for all your help. Good luck and enjoy an entertaining set of games. Yeah, hopefully. And the Euros is almost over. I mean, what? In 9 days, I think, is the final, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. The final was on the 11th of July, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, they're coming thick and fast now. The quarterfinal, semi-final, and final, they're just gone in a flash. And yeah, Spain versus Switzerland should be a very good game. I'm going to be watching it now, and hopefully all of you are too. Let's see us in another final, Chile-Argentina. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go to penalties again. Jesus, yeah. Oh my god, the 2014-2016 squad. I have no idea how they haven't won a trophy, but these things can happen. But I like this Argentina squad this year, and Chile are always tough to play against, to be honest, especially in recent years. The only kind of concern I would have looking at Chile moving forward is that when Vidal, Alexis Sanchez retire, Gary Medel, I'm just not sure where the new players are going to come about. But I think Chile can still be a tough team to crack, and hopefully they beat Brazil, like I said tonight. But I don't know. I see Brazil in the final, to be honest. I think they're going to reach the final. Who do you think's going to win? I think Spain are going to win, maybe 2-1. I think Belgium, if Kevin De Bruyne starts and is in full form. And yeah, I think England will win, probably 2-0. And the other one would be Denmark. I think they'd beat Czech Republic, but that's a really tough game. And I could see one of these games going to penalties or extra time, to be honest. Thanks, bro. Big hug, and hope Argentina wins. After Chile is my favourite national team with France and Italy. Yeah, really appreciate that, Jose Manuel. And of course, over the last few years with all the rivalry of Argentina-Chile, I've seen a lot of kind of hatred between the two, and especially, going back to the 80s and stuff and political. But yeah, there's definitely no hate there. I don't care about that sort of stuff. Ultimately, it's down to the governments. But yeah, hopefully Chile do well as too. But if it is a final, I admit I would be nervous, because losing a third final to Chile, I couldn't deal with that, to be honest. Any final against anyone, I just don't want to lose it, because that's 8 finals in a row now that Argentina have lost. Do you think Italy will go out? I think they might. Yeah, I think they might. But it's a 50-50 game. That's the game I'm the most kind of conflicted about. But yeah, I think Italy are a really good team. But Belgium, I don't know. There's something about Belgium. I think this is their chance this year. They have to do it. But yeah, whoever wins from that game, I back to win the whole tournament. If not, it'll probably be England. But yeah, we'll see. I've just found your channel. Looks good, bro. Are you part Argentinian? Yeah, so my family are from Argentina. I do have dual nationality, so I'm half British, you could say, and half Argentinian. But in terms of football, I've always just kind of attached myself to Argentina. I don't know why. It's just I can never really get into England, and I had to pick a side, really, and pick my family side, so there it is. Hopefully you don't judge me too much for that. I got an important player from every team. I never stacked one team. Is that a good idea? I think it is, especially considering what happened in Matchday 4, to be honest. So, Mohammed, you might be on the right track there. And that's why when I was showing my team selection video and I was showing a wildcard draft, I had a few Czech Republic players there. I didn't go for Ukraine, and if you went for them, fair play. But yeah, maybe you'll gain an advantage from that. And even if they do get knocked out, they might get some points before getting eliminated. So looks really good. Spain just scored. Yeah, well, I mean, I need to be checking this game, man. I mean, yeah, I'm still here. But let me check, actually. Who scored? Oh, my God. Jesus. The tense way. What should be Sarabia or Ferran Torres? I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. It's still loading for me. I'm not on the chat, by the way. I'm on live score. Still checking. Let's see. Maybe I should just go on the chat. You probably know already. Let's see. Alba just scored, but it was a deflection. Oh, damn. Yeah, Jordi Alba, he's got that attacking potential. Yeah, he got the goal. Jordi Alba got the goal. Who got the assist? I'm wondering. Interesting, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. That's the thing with Jordi Alba. He's a bit of a rotation risk, but he's got so much attacking potential, man. Out of topic, I'm really looking forward to your FPL preseason draft. Yeah, I've actually come up with a draft already, but I haven't touched it since. So, yeah, I will be going through that after Euro Fantasy Football is gone. Alaba. Yeah, it's Alba, yeah. Yeah, he scored. Change it to Fast Chat, Dylan. Fast Chat, what is that? Oh, because of the 10-second... Yeah, I just have that just to avoid spamming, especially, some people do repeat the same question over and over before it's answered. And also, even if you've answered it, they still repeat it. But, yeah, I will maybe change that for the next stream. Yeah, we'll be done. But I will be wrapping up now. Let's see if there's any more goals in the Spain-Switzerland game. Hopefully there is. And I'll be watching it, and I'll be checking the goal that just happened. But really appreciate everyone who has joined. Remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. As I said before, follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you wish. Dylan_RCM is the same as my YouTube handle. And yeah, look forward to speaking to you lot in future live streams and also videos. Good luck with this match day 5. Hopefully the quarterfinals goes well for us, and yeah, the semi-finals and final too. And let's enjoy the Euros and enjoy the football, and I'll see you next time.